Hey guys, got a 2000 Honda Foreman 450. Bought it from a guy. He said that the electric shift doesn't work, and also I noticed the four-wheel drive is not working either. So this is a full-time four-wheel drive four-wheeler, so there is no switch for that. It's in decent shape. I just bought it earlier tonight. It's got some plastics pulled out a little bit and missing a few screws in various places. Maybe one to hold up the fender here. Just to do a quick run through of what I look for whenever I'm buying a four-wheeler to flip or sell or even to keep. So first thing you want to do, obviously, you want to crank it up, see if it runs. If it doesn't run, that's going to knock the value down a whole lot, because if it doesn't run, then you also don't know if it drives. So you can't verify that the transmission is in working order. So the big thing about flips is being able to tell what you know, so you can gauge how much money you're going to need to put into this and how much money you can get out of it. So this four-wheeler runs, it starts right up. The electric shift doesn't work, obviously, but luckily Honda here has a manual shift option, so that you can, if the ES ever goes out, you can still shift it. And so I verified that it did run and drive through that. I was able to shift it and load it into my truck. Also, upon driving it, I realized that the front brakes don't work. Probably got a leaking caliper or something, ran out of fluid, maybe a bad master cylinder. Noticed the throttle bracket's a little tweaked. They've put a new throttle lever on it. It'll need some grips. The screen it works, but there is if you can see, there's like a spot in the middle where you're not able to see. They say you can pull that off and sand it down a little bit, and then you'll be able to see the screen. It's like a heat spot or something. Lights work, but the headlights up here down on the front don't. So we'll have to figure out why. Looks like they got a bunch of mud in them and probably busted the bulbs, if I had to guess. Come with a gun bag on the back. Looks to be pretty good and brand new, pretty much. It also has a Boss speaker, Bluetooth speaker, plug in with the cigarette lighter here. But usually whenever I'm going to look at a four-wheeler, first thing I'm going to do is you're going to run it. If it don't run, then obviously you still want to check the oil though, but make sure it's got oil. This one is just a tad bit low. It's pretty dirty, so I'm going to be changing it, but I usually do that anyways. Usually change the oil, change the filter, do a spark plug, pretty much tune up. This carburetor, it looks like it's definitely seen better days. It's really dirty in here, so I'll be cleaning that off, and might go through it and clean the jets, make sure I don't have any trash in there. You also want to check your air box, see what your air filter looks like. Well, this one is missing the foam part. It's got the little screen here, but there's supposed to be a foam section that goes around it too, and that's not in there, so we'll have to replace that. Battery looks good, no corrosion and stuff on the terminals. Looks like it's got new screws in it. I did notice this thing has got maybe a bad starter solenoid. Whenever you try to start it, sometimes it'll just click a little bit, and you have to push it a few times in order to get it to actually start. It is snorkeled. It's got a little low rise here. They got it loose hanging in there, and it's not sealed tight, obviously, because that comes out. But the front end, I think it's going to need maybe some tie rod ends and bushings, maybe. We'll see. Definitely know it needs a steering bushing right here. You can see while I turn it that the handlebars turn, but it doesn't actually turn the tires. There's a little bit of slack in it. So definitely gonna have to address that. Tires are in good shape. You want to make sure they are and hold air. These seem to be good, and got a pull start on it. You want to check that out. You want to make sure it pulls and retracts, so you know that once you pull it, it'll go back in, because sometimes they're known to not go back in afterwards. Got some zip ties, free zip ties. That's nice. Go to the back end here. I usually check on your the ends. If it's a solid axle, check the ends here. If you have some moisture, or like looks like maybe it's wet or it's been leaking, that usually means that you have a bad seal here on the end. This one also might have a bad seal here behind the brake drum. So on this four-wheeler, the rear brakes do work, surprisingly. That's a rare thing for Hondas. This one, you can see that obviously the vent line is off. So I'll take it and stick it over there just so I remember to put it back on. I usually always change diff fluids just as a safe measure. They're usually often forgotten about. And if they have a leak, then there is a possibility, that it could be dry. So I always just change the diff fluids anyways. You want to check your axles, make sure they're in good. This one's got a loose front axle, really loose right there. But you want to check your boots, see if there's any rips in them. Make sure they're not like dry rotted or something. You can see this four-wheeler, it's got a 2-inch lift right here. There's a little bracket. It's got a little 2-inch high lifter lift, I believe. You just run through, check it over, see if you see any wires hanging or things that don't work, plastic's missing. See this, they're missing a plastic right here. There's supposed to be a piece to cover this, but obviously they took it off so that they could have access to this, and it looks like they also cut it up some so that you could put a foot shifter on it easier. But I'm gonna start getting this thing pulled a little bit apart, check into the shifting thing so we can get it shifting, and I'm gonna jack it up, put it on jack stands, and turn the wheels and make sure, see if my front drive shaft is turning, if it's something in the diff, if it's something with the front axle shaft or what. So I'll pick back up when I get to another stopping point. All right, so guys, we got her up on jack stands in the front, got it jacked up in the rear here. I started it up and gave it some gas, put it in first, gave it some gas. So the rear is turning, the front's not. So got to looking at it some more and found out that this front shaft is spinning inside of this like middle shaft or intermediate shaft, whatever you want to call this, that connects the motor to the front diff. So I need to pull it apart probably and check in there. This might be stripped. Hopefully it's this middle shaft is stripped and I can just replace it, put a new one, and it'll be good. I'm hoping that it's not on the drive shaft side, which it shouldn't. The drive shaft should be a harder metal than this, so should be shifted, stripped in there. But since I got it up on all fours, it's good to go around and move the tires a little bit, see if you got any play. got no play here. Got a little bit of play in the tie rod ends. You can kind of see when I shake it back and forth, it moves. But let me show you what a bad wheel bearing looks like. Wheel bearing / maybe ball joints, but mostly wheel bearing. So if you look in here where your axle shaft goes in, that's where your wheel bearing is. It's down in there. And this is what a bad one looks like. You're gonna have a lot of play. So I'll put you over here and see the whole tire's moving. It's moving in there near where the axle shaft goes through. So that's a bad wheel bearing in the front. Also notice we also got a bad one in the rear back here on this right side, which I see that it's loose. Could also be a loose castle nut, or axle nut I should say. But the only way to tell that is to pop the wheel off and see what that castle nut looks like. But this one's loose as well. So we'll probably end up replacing those two just because those are really bad. But over here we seem pretty good. This one's got a tiny bit of play, not even a lot. I can barely see it, barely move it. And this front left one doesn't have any play, so those are good. But I'm going to pull this here plastic piece off so I can get better access at that shaft. Easy, it's pretty easy. You just take out these plastic clips. You'll have a bolt back here that mounts to this bracket in the back of the fender. You have a bolt here. You got a bolt here too. It mounts to that bracket in the front fender. So you take all these plastic pieces out, take that bolt out and that bolt out. There's two bolts right here that bolt to the foot peg, that sandwich the foot peg and the plastic between this piece from the frame. Take that off and you should be able to take this off so you can get better access back in there to where the shaft is. This one doesn't have an inner fender. Some of them, there's supposed to be like an inner black piece that goes from here to here. Kind of covers that. They obviously took it out because they ran a snorkel here, but you would just take out, should be like a 10 mil or a Phillips head right here, and a Phillips head right here that holds that black plastic piece on. But I'll get you back when I got this fender off and pulling that shaft out. Probably also have to maybe pop the bolts out of the diff so you slide it forward just a hair. You'll have one on the top here, one on the front, and should be one more on the bottom, I think. And then you should be able to slide the diff a little bit forward so you can squeeze this right here together and pop the shaft off, and I'll be able to look in there and look at the shaft and see. As far as the shifting, whenever I'm pushing the button, I can hear it down here. It sounds like it's got a weak motor. So whenever I push the button, it makes like a little like whirring sound. So I think it's either got a motor that is weak or maybe a bind in the gears or something. Alright, so got the old drive shaft out here. This is the side that goes into the differential. It seems to be in good shape. And then I got the other side here. Show down in there. I don't know if you can tell, but they seem to be worn. The inside is worn, pretty much slap out, doesn't have any grooves left. So it's just spinning in there, it can't get any grip. The drive shaft is good. I put the light on it. It's got grooves in it, so I'll clean that up and that should be good. I just have to order a new middle shaft here, and it just goes into that section right there of the diff. To get that out, it's kind of a pain, but you unbolt the diff from those bolts. There's one here, one up top, and then one on the back side, back down in there. and then you slide it all the way forward. Right here you can see I have it slid all the way up to the front frame up here. You slide it all the way forward. You don't have to unhook anything from the front tires or nothing. You just got to take those bolts out to slide it. Slide it all the way up, and you can pull the shaft back. And then this section right here, it's got like a little spring in there, and you can press that down or press it back. And I just kind of use that and like a screwdriver kind of as leverage, so I could keep getting better grips on it. And then I just pulled it over, and you can just yank it out, and then, you know, that's how you get it out. And to put it back in, you would just stick it back in and put the right ends on each, and then push the diff back forward, get it lined up where it's supposed to be, get your bolts through. It's got a little spacer up top on the top. So I'm gonna order a new shaft, and I'm gonna order a new shift motor. I'm gonna pop these off right here so I can look in there and see what's going on, see if there's like a bunch of buildup of grease or what. They say that can be a problem sometimes, but I'll hit back whenever I get that shift motor out. Alright, so got the shift motor out. You have to pull this whole assembly off right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts to get the cover off, and then there's another 3 for the to get the motor itself out. You have to take the cover off to get to that bottom bolt. But so I got it out. I've already cleaned it a little bit, this the shift motor, and you can see it looks alright. It's got about 3 bearings in here. You just want to feel them, make sure they spin good, no rough spots or nothing like that. Make sure they're free. Check your gear here, see if it's got any missing teeth, something like that. And then I'm gonna look in here. You can see, as you can see, you can tell if people have taken care of their stuff, they've done their oil changes regularly or not here, because you see all that gook caked up in all the corners and stuff. It's got like a whole layer of sludge in the bottom. That's how you know that they ain't changed the freaking oil in these things, which is common. They just get abused. But so you want to clean all that out. There's bearings in there too. Clean all that out. I'll take you over here to my bench here. These are the gears that go in there. They line up. You got this one goes on the shaft, the shift shaft. Goes like this. And then this gear right here, it goes on there too, right here. So you can interlock them on this. They interlock like this. And then this little baby one here goes on the bottom. It goes in, and it turns this shaft here. So they look like that when they're all in there. And then the shift motor, it turns on this, or actually it turns on this. And so it turns this, which turns this, kind of like reduction, because the motor isn't a very, very strong one, but it needs to be able to shift it on the fly, so it does like a reduction to give it more torque. But I'm just gonna clean these up and put them back in there, make sure they're all clean, and clean out inside. And then I'm probably gonna replace the shift motor. It seems whenever I hold on to it, it just doesn't want to shift. So I'm just gonna replace the shift motor and put it back together, and hopefully it'll fix it.